CBS News political director and Face the Nation moderator. That's John Dickerson, joins us from Washington. Hello, John.
Hello, Gayle.
So now that Mr. Sessions has recused himself from this investigation, do you think that's enough for the administration to move forward and put it behind them?
Well, the best way to probably move forward and put this behind them is for Donald Trump to keep following up on the promises he made on the campaign trail, but then also for there to stop being situations where you have people connected to the administration saying things that are at odds with the truth. You had first Michael Flynn, the National Security Advisor, now the Attorney General. And even though Attorney General Sessions is of a different order than Michael Flynn in terms of what he said, the job he's in is one in which forthrightness is the most important part of the job. And that's the problem here, is that he wasn't forthright, and he's the one who's supposed to bend over backwards and be forthright.
No, we're looking at a picture on the screen right now. It is like a song out of Empire, that drip, drip, drippity drop, where we just heard the president say, no one I know has had contact, but we see his son-in-law, we see the Attorney General, we see his former National Security Advisor, and his former campaign manager.
Well, the key here is when the contact took place. There's nothing wrong with Jared Kushner, who's a senior advisor to the president, or the National Security Advisor having contact after the election. They were coming in. This is a transition. They meet with the Russians. I mean, there are people who obviously are at odds with the way that President Trump looks at the Russians from a national security perspective. But the contacts after the election are not as big a deal as the contacts before the election. And they're still reporting that former National Security Advisor Flynn was in contact with the Russians during the actual election. And that's really where the focus of the questioning is in terms of whether anybody in the Trump the Trump campaign was involved in Russian meddling with the election. That's different than contacts after the election took place.
John, some Democrats are calling for a special prosecutor here. Do you think with Republicans controlling Congress, there's any chance of that?
Well, the special prosecutor would have to come from the Attorney General, now the acting Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General, because Jeff Sessions has recused himself. The only way that seems to me is going to happen is if the pressure comes from Republicans on the administration through future disclosures. If there's more that comes out that suggests that this needs to be looked at, or if somehow the ongoing investigation is somehow tainted. So I think it's probably still unlikely. But if these kinds of revelations keep rolling out, perhaps the pressure grows.
President Trump was elected by an electorate that wanted change in Washington. Legislative change, the draining of the swamp. These stories, how much do they distract from, embattle a White House from what is a pretty aggressive legislative agenda that they're trying to jumpstart just this month?
Well, in terms of the people who voted for him, these stories are an irritant and don't really distract from the White House. When President Trump is on an aircraft carrier talking about the $54 billion in increased spending in defense, perhaps even more than that, $30 more billion on top of that, and goes to talk about school choice today. That's what the people who elected him see and want, and they think of this Russian business as just a confection of the press. Now, if you continue to have Republicans speaking out, that's what changes the politics of this even more, because you have people of the president's own team saying, wait, there's something here, there's more here, you need to be more forthright, and that's what breaks it out of the normal partisan sorting that goes on with this kind of thing, and that's when it can become something that really gets in the way of the White House.
John, thank you very much. I'll see you on Sunday on Face the Nation. John will be speaking with Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner and former CIA Director and Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. That's Sunday right here on CBS.